Chapter 1 Feathers and Hearts. The little orange candle flames danced up and down, as if trying to follow the rhythm of the man's breathing. Darkness enveloped this small area, and the man's iron-like body remained motionless. The gorgeous and exquisite tattoos on the dark arms are even more eye-catching against the shining golden armor. The man opened his eyes, his silver blue eyes making it impossible to look into them, and a chilling air filled the air. A monster with a wolf head and body. Ian Lee's breath was stagnant. He wanted to shout, but his throat was tight, and he couldn't make any sound. The man stared at a golden scale in front of him. The tray on the left side of the scale is a white feather, and the tray on the right side is a blood-red heart. However, the scale does not tilt to either side. Plumes, you have a noble soul. You passed the trial B and hashtag 119, and hashtag 119, and hashtag 119, and hashtag 46, and hashtag 115, and hashtag 104, and hashtag 117, and hashtag 107, and hashtag 101, and hashtag 98, and hashtag 97, and hashtag 46, and hashtag 99. And hashtag 111. This voice seemed to come from the invisible pole, majestic and cold. But I failed someone. His heart suddenly beat rapidly, and an old and hoarse voice came. Do you still need redemption? Yes, God Anubis. The heart beat faster, and the red and green blood vessels seemed to burst. Please give me a chance. The man was silent. After a while, he clenched the scepter in his hand and said, Are you sure you can defeat your fate? I swear by my loyalty to RA, I will do my best. You may have to pay a higher price. After saying this, the tower-like man fell silent. He closed his eyes, nodded slightly, and whispered a spell. After a moment, he suddenly raised his head and shouted, revealing his white fangs. The silver-blue pupils gradually turned into the same golden color as candlelight, and the eyes shot out streaks of golden light, intertwining into an airtight net. The scale gradually disappeared. The man clasped his hands together, closed his eyes, and instantly formed an obsidian stone statue. The white feather floated upward slowly, and the tray holding the heart sank, making a loud noise. Ian Lee twitched his body slightly, and then came out of his dream. What's the mess? Could it be that my brain cells are overactive because I've read too much material recently? My head feels heavy, and my temples feel tight. I want to continue sleeping, but I feel so confused that I can't fall asleep. Forget it. Why not get up and continue writing the paper? Who let yourself dig such a big hole? Sighing in his heart, Ian Lee rubbed his eyes and prepared to get up and turn on the light. But as soon as he opened one eye, he vaguely saw two black figures in the room. Ian Lee was so frightened that he woke up for most of the time. He immediately held his breath and opened his eyes wide to look hard. The moonlight shines into the room through the small window above the wall. The two black figures are hunched over, seeming to be rummaging for something quickly. There's a thief. Ian Lee's first thought came to his mind. Keep pretending to sleep. Ian Lee had a second thought. Long before going abroad, parents have repeatedly warned girls that they must pay attention to personal safety when going out. If you encounter a thief or a robber, quickly hand over your cash card and don't resist needlessly. It's important to save your life. But when he encountered a burglary for the first time, Ian Lee panicked. Cold sweat broke out on the back of his palms, and he bit his lips to suppress the urge to cry. What about Jenny? How is she doing there? I hope he only robs money. If he touches me, I will scream at the top of my lungs. Where did I put the stun device? Woohoo! Why don't you put chilly water on the bedside? For a moment, countless thoughts flashed through Ian Lee's mind, but in the end he could only hold his breath and observe with half-closed eyes. One of them seemed to be familiar with the interior of the room and could avoid the furniture in time by the moonlight. It only makes a small noise when rummaging for things. If the people in the room are sleeping, they will never be woken up. Knowing that the passengers have little cash, they still come to steal. Maybe they are just habitual thieves looking for petty gains. After stealing some wallets, cameras, etc., it's time to leave. Keep it up. Don't let him find out. Ainley encouraged himself secretly in his heart, holding the sheets tightly with both hands, not daring to express his anger. The taller shadow seemed to find something after searching for a while. He stopped, walked to his accomplice, patted his shoulder, and handed the object in his hand to his eyes. The short man quickly took the object, stared at it for a while, and then suddenly turned to look at the single bed. In an instant, Ainley was so frightened that he quickly closed his eyes and tried to breathe evenly, for fear that the thief would see any flaws. It seemed like a century had passed, and not a single sound could be heard. Ainley felt that his back was completely soaked, and his breathing began to become heavy. While he was debating whether to squint and see if the thief was still there, Ainley suddenly felt a warmth coming from his legs. Suddenly, Ainley's mind exploded. Oh my God, this gangster can be killed with 1,000 swords. The hand was neither light nor heavy, caressing Ainley's legs slowly and unhurriedly. Even though he was separated by a thin quilt and pajamas, Ainley still felt nausea coming over him. Just lie there and let him take advantage. What if he takes advantage of it? Will he have a knife? If I resist, will he kill me immediately? At this thought, Ainley felt a little hopeless and regretted not asking Jenny for a standard room. This hotel, which is famous for its security, allowed thieves to sneak in so easily. How about negotiating with the thief? God, who knows if he understands English? What if he only knows Arabic? Countless grass and mud horses roared past in my heart, but the hand suddenly stopped. Just when Ainley was about to take advantage of the situation and push hard, the hand started to move again, and the force gradually increased. There was even a slightly heavy breathing in his ears. The hair swiped back and forth on his face as the man breathed out, making him feel extremely itchy for a moment. None of them asked, "Aren't you afraid of being seen?" At this time, the fear in Ainley's heart had been replaced by nausea and anger. She clenched her fists and secretly gathered all her strength, preparing to shout and push away this shameless man. As long as he can run into the bathroom, lock the door, and shout loudly, he should be able to escape from danger. "I know you're pretending to sleep." The man's voice suddenly sounded, and everything became extremely quiet again, and even breathing could not be heard. Ainley opened his eyes suddenly like a reflex and saw an unfamiliar round face close at hand. In the half-dark yin and yang face, the facial features cannot be seen clearly, and one can only feel the cunning smile in those triangular eyes. Let me see his face. Could it be that he wanted to make money and kill people at the same time, killing people to silence them? Now that the matter has come to this, Ainley has calmed down, and negotiation is the last glimmer of hope. However, just as she was about to speak, the man quickly grabbed her chin with his hand. Ainley was in pain and couldn't help but mouthed "ah." Almost at the same time, a large ball of cloth was shoved in brutally and quickly, blocking his throat. Chapter 2: The Shocking Artisan Village. Ainley retched for a while, no longer wanting to be captured without mercy. He pushed with all his strength. The thief didn't seem to expect that Ainley would rise up to resist, and he was pushed away slightly without paying attention. He snorted coldly and immediately struck back to suppress Ainley's upper body firmly. Ainley couldn't move, his chest was tight, and he was short of breath, so he had to grab with his hands and kick his feet. Unfortunately, his legs and feet didn't obey him, and he could only move his toes slightly. At this time, Ainley was truly frightened. He was so frightened that he could only scream, "Woo woo woo," desperately in an attempt to call for help. "Dad, Mom, Yin Ming. I'm going to die, and I'm going to die without leaving you a single word. Professor Rem, we can no longer meet in China. Jenny, why are you sleeping so hard? What it means to cry without tears, what it means to regret so much that your intestines are blue. This time Ainley fully understood it. "Ah," the man shouted suddenly. "You stinky girl, how dare you scratch me?" Cursing, the man pressed down on Ainley even more fiercely, pinned her hands down, and tied them up with ropes. After several minutes of fierce struggle, almost all his strength was exhausted. Ainley could no longer resist except twisting his head back and forth. The man lit the lamp and asked his companion to look at Ainley while he sat at the table and eagerly started looking through the things he had just found. Ainley originally thought he was going to steal the camera and wallet in her bag, but she didn't expect it to be a thick notebook that she had never seen before. The two men, one fat and the other thin, both wore black clothes and looked confident. The fat man looked through the book eagerly, not even bothering to wipe the wet blood on his face. He stared at it for a while and flipped through it quickly at another. The house and the furnishings inside were completely different from the room we originally stayed in. What the hell is going on? Kidnapping? Blackmail? Ainley could not recall how he came to this earthen house. After a while, the fat man's eager expression gradually turned cold. He rushed to the bed angrily and pulled the ball of cloth from Ainley's mouth. "Where did Senate hide the mind map? Tell me." His mouth was suddenly empty, his cheeks were sore, and he couldn't speak. He had no idea what this angry man was talking about. "No one is supporting you now. I can do whatever I want of you. Just tell me." The fat man put his hands on Ainley's side, and his hooked nose almost touched her face. "Ahem, I don't know." "Believe it or not, I will rape you right away and then set this house on fire." The fat man interrupted Ainley impatiently with a fierce look in his eyes. Ainley closed her eyes instinctively and was speechless. She was not given a chance to explain it all. What exactly is a vein map? Just when I was thinking about how to deal with the thief, there was a loud boom, and my body suddenly became lighter. Then there was a crisp click sound followed by the sound of heavy objects hitting the ground. Nephil, Nephil. The wrist was loosened and the rope was untied. A pair of warm hands held his shoulders and shook him gently, and a deep and forbearing cry came from his ears. After all this tossing, Ainley was almost exhausted. His body was like a feather, circling lightly in the wind, or like a ball of duckweed, rising and falling in the whirlpool. When he opened his eyes, he saw a chiseled face and a pair of concerned eyes. "Nephil, who are you calling?" After getting rid of the restraints, Ainley slowly sat up on the bed, and the ferocious man in black rolled beside the bed. Who was the man in front of me? Ainley couldn't help but shrink to the corner of the bed. "Don't be afraid, Nephil. I am Bada." The man's distressed expression was extremely clear in the moonlight. But Ainley quickly searched in his mind and found that he had never met anyone named Bada since coming to Egypt. Since all the thieves were knocked to the ground by him, maybe he is the hotel's security guard. His skills were pretty good. He knocked down 2 of them instantly. But why don't the security personnel wear uniforms, and what are they doing with their upper bodies naked? Under the bright moonlight, the man's strong muscles glowed coldly. The ecstasy he felt when he realized he was out of danger disappeared without a trace in an instant. "Aren't you another exhibitionist?" Ainley ignored the man, pulled the sheet to cover himself, and said weakly, "You get out." The man sighed, as if he just remembered the fat man lying on the ground, and kicked him hard to confirm that the man had completely fainted. I knew Kunta was not a good guy, but I didn't expect him to be so rampant. The man brought a glass of water to Ainley. Okay, little one. Brother Bada will protect you. Drink some water first, and I'll go deal with this feast and then come back to you." The man tucked the thin sheet around Ainley's feet, lifted up the 2 men in black, and walked out the door. Everything fell into silence again, as if nothing had happened. Ainley took the cup, took a sip of water, cleared his throat, exhaled, and took back all the 7 souls and 6 souls. "Wait, what kind of cup is this?" Ainley took the object in his hand closer and saw clearly that it was a small clay jar with a simple and plain shape, not a glass like the one in the hotel. "Go find Jenny. I don't want to stay here for another minute. Rushing to the door, Ainley pushed it open and was stunned by the scene in front of him. The originally busy road turned into a dirt road, less than 2 meters wide, and the houses in front of me were no more than 5 meters tall. Under the moonlight, the huts were neatly arranged, lined up on both sides, and disappeared into the darkness in the distance. In the distance, there is a little orange light. Other than that, it was pitch black all around, with only the bright moon and stars dotting the sky. We were obviously staying in a 4-star hotel, not an Egyptian farmhouse. What on earth is this place? Ainley's mind was full of black people's question marks, and he especially wanted to rush to Jenny's room and ask for answers, but he couldn't take a step out. Instinct told Ainley that it would be safer to retreat to their room and wait for daybreak. He was working in the dark. If he ran into a robber again, how could he escape? Back inside the house, Ainley hurriedly looked for his backpack. Soon he found the bag spread out in the corner. Ainley checked it carefully. Although it was a little messy, nothing was lost. It contains important documents such as passports and ID cards, as well as emergency medicines, flashlight stun devices, mobile phones, mini solar chargers, Kindle devices, and other important personal belongings. The light of the flashlight was enough to illuminate everything in the house. The more Ainley looked at it, the more incredible it became. This is definitely not the hotel where I and Jenny stayed. It's just like a rough house, with not a single modern item in sight. Looking down at myself, I saw that I was not wearing the silk nightgown my mother bought, but a white linen dress. And the waist-length hair that I had kept for 4 or 5 years has become ear-length short hair. Who did it? I just had to change rooms and clothes. Who could be so wicked as to cut my hair short? Just when Ainley was furious, 2 people flashed in from the door. Chapter 3: Bada and Evelyn. The man was naked and wearing a white short skirt. He was the man who had just knocked out the man in black. The woman behind him looked capable and elegant in a tight white dress. As soon as the woman saw Ainley, she walked up quickly and hugged her tightly. When she looked up again, her beautiful big eyes were already moist. At the same time, the man quickly lit a small oil lamp and took them to sit around the table. Seeing Ainley's confused look, the woman held her face and said softly, "Nafel, you have been sleeping for 3 days and 3 nights, but we are so worried that we are dying." Nafel? You can't even remember your name, right? The woman was a little anxious. Evelyn, she was very frightened just now. The man next to him couldn't help but interject. "What's going on? Why did I fall asleep for 3 days? Where is this?" Ainley asked quickly. The man and the woman looked at each other. The woman named Evelyn turned around and took Ainley's hand and said, "It seems that you have really forgotten a lot of things. It doesn't matter. I will tell you slowly." Evelyn's voice was gentle but powerful, very pleasant to the ear. 7 days ago, your father, Dr. Sennett, suddenly fell seriously ill. Unfortunately, he passed away before we could send him to the big hospital in Thebes. Ainley felt the strength in his hand increase slightly, and Evelyn's expression was full of pity and worry. "You are so heartbroken that you didn't eat or drink after your father's funeral. You fell asleep for several days. Bada and I came to take care of you every day, but you just didn't wake up. Later, we also discussed sending you to the big hospital in Thebes. Yes, we are almost inseparable. At night, my sister-in-law suddenly asked me to go back, and unexpectedly, that beast took advantage of her. Bada couldn't help but clenched his fist and smashed it on the table. Nefel, have you forgotten? The head of the village has been plotting against you for a long time. When your father was still alive, he proposed marriage to your father many times, but was rejected by Mr. Sennett. We were worried that he would hold a grudge and take the opportunity to do something unfavorable to you, so we stayed at your house to look after you every day." Evelyn's questioning eyes expected Ainley to remember, even a little bit. "They all call me Nefer, could it be?" A thought suddenly arises. What era is it now? Who is your ruler? Ainley opened his eyes wide and answered the question. Bada and Evelyn looked at each other. Evelyn gently touched Ainley's head and said somewhat helplessly, "Thanks to the blessings of the gods, this is the 8th year of the rule of the great Pharaoh Tutankhamun." Picture Tutankhamun. The name Ainley is not unfamiliar. Because of my love for ancient Egyptian architecture, I have read many books on Egyptian history and art. Tutankhamun, known as the Little Pharaoh in history, was the pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of the New Kingdom in ancient Egypt. He ruled the world at the age of 9 and died suddenly at the age of 19. The mouth of his tomb is engraved with mysterious spells. Although tomb robbing has been rampant, his tomb has never been robbed in 3,000 years. It was not discovered until 1922 by the British Howard Carter, who unearthed a large number of treasures and shocked the world. So, Ainley suddenly felt suffocated and took several deep breaths before he could continue. "What year BC is it now?" "BC? What are you talking about?" Evelyn was also a little confused. By the way, the AD calendar was a chronological system that became widely used only in the 16th century. If we were actually in ancient Egypt right now, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. "Evelyn, where's the mirror?" "I want a mirror," Ainley said as he stood up in a hurry. Seeing this, Evelyn shook her head, walked straight to a small cabinet, took out an object and handed it to Ainley. "My great beauty, you'd better wash your face before taking the photo." Ainley took the mirror and saw that it was made of brass. Under the weak light, there was only a blurry figure in the mirror. Wiping hard with the hem of her skirt, a face with delicate features and a slightly haggard appearance appeared in the mirror. Even if it is a bronze mirror, even if it is unkempt, Ainley can still tell that the person in the mirror is herself. When Evelyn talked about Tutankhamun, the word travel popped into Ainley's mind. Time travel has become commonplace in various entertainment consumer products. Soulwear, bookwear, menswear, women's wear, menswear, double-wear, you name it. Ainley is usually not very interested in this kind of popular culture, but only knows a little bit about it. Who would have thought that such a thing as time travel would happen to him? I don't believe it at all, but the facts are before our eyes. After the idea of traveling through time came up, everything in front of me seemed so logical. The man wearing a linen loincloth, the bottles and jars seen in the Egyptian museum, the young pharaoh Tutankhamun. Only then did Ainley notice that Bada and Evelyn were not speaking English at all, but he could actually understand them. The words coming out of his mouth also sounded like bird language, and they could understand it. It seems that the god of time travel has thought quite carefully, and even the ancient Egyptian language and characters have been open to her. But he still didn't give up, put down the bronze mirror, and continued to ask Evelyn, "Then where is this place? What did I do before?" Looking at Ainley's flickering, crystal-clear eyes, Evelyn felt sad again. Such a beautiful girl lost her memory after suffering the huge blow of losing her father. Wouldn't it be even more sad if Mr. Sennen knew about it? This is Deir el-Medina, a village of craftsmen. Craftsmen and their families have lived here for generations, building tombs and temples for the pharaohs. Evelyn glanced at Bada and continued, "Bada and his brother's family live diagonally across from your house. His brother is an excellent carver. Not far from here is the Valley of the Kings, which is located on the west bank of the Nile, at the foot of the western foothills of the capital Thebes. The craftsmen here will go to the construction site in the Valley of the Kings every few days to work and return to the village after 10.5 months, so there are mostly old people, women and children here during the day." Bada continued, "My husband is the village clerk." At this point, Evelyn's expression suddenly darkened, and even her tone changed. "He was a good man. I suspect he was killed." "What? Evelyn's husband is also dead?" Ainley looked at Evelyn's painful and forbearing expression and couldn't help but pull her over for a hug. Although I had just known the two people in front of me for less than an hour, I felt very connected and friendly. Evelyn, who was comforted, paused for a while and continued, "Half a month ago, my husband came back from the construction site and said he had a severe headache. I asked Dr. Sennett to go for treatment, and the doctor said it was nothing serious. However, after drinking the herbal juice prescribed by Dr. Sennett, my husband's headache became worse. He fell into a coma and never woke up. Ah, his father killed Evelyn's husband. Ainley didn't know how to comfort this lovely person in front of him.